until it appears live on my end, and I'll wait about 1 or 2 minutes for people to trickle in. Cool, I see 2 chats on Hopin as well, so I'm gonna give it 1 or 2 minutes if you'll trickle in. If you're here, feel free to say hello or like what your background in design is, what you're most excited to learn about today. And I will probably start around 11, not 9. Oh, hello. Cool. I have no idea. Oh, I see 169 people. Okay, cool. Oh, hello everyone. I'll probably give it one more minute for people to trickle in. Meanwhile, let me know what you're most excited to learn about and what your background design is. And are you hacking on the design track? Do you have like zero experience in design? Are you a master designer? What are your favorite design tools? I see so many hellos. Hello, buddies. Um, yeah, anyone self-taught? I'm like 100% self-taught. All my knowledge is from internships and doing hackathons as well. So if you guys are self-taught, hackathons are a great way to get experience. And I'll later talk about more actual tips on how you can get experience. And I had the chat open at the same time, so this will be interactive. Cool. It is 9:12, so we will officially start. No experience, very interested. Material UI all the way. Yes, Material UI is amazing. And so welcome to Intro to UI UX Design. I'm Grace. I'll be your workshop host for today. This is meant to be a really fun, casual, and very interactive workshop. I'll be covering over a lot of actionable tips where y'all can learn design. And towards the second half of the workshop, we will actually be going into Figma. And we will be basically doing design thinking to think of an app together and design a solution for that in Figma and do some wireframing. So make sure to stay till the end so you get that interactive portion. So let's hop right into it using Hop like design buddies. Yeah, definitely feel free to ask me any questions during the workshop. I have the chat pulled up so I can look at it at any time and answer at any time as well. If it's like too digressing from the topic, I will answer them at the end. And so for our agenda for today, we're going to start with the intro. I'll talk a little bit about myself and my journey, my background, and what I learned. Intro to design. What is design? Studying from the fundamentals and trying to change your way of thinking about it. And in design thinking, basically the problem-solving process you can apply to your hackathon projects. Like typically in a company, all the designers, product managers, software engineers collaborate on this part and all stakeholders on the project. And then we'll talk a little about UX design, what I do as a UX/product designer, and what UI design is, the profession, in case you all are interested in it as well. And then I'll showcase some resources, and we have an interactive Figma portion. So let's dive in. And I'm Grace. I'm a full-time designer of electronic arts. I'm mostly focused on user experience and product design, but I have done some of my projects mostly focused on graphic design as well. So it's pretty interdisciplinary. And I also founded the largest design community in the world called Design Buddies, and we'll be hosting a workshop a social event with SacHacks at 6 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow. I'm actually a part-time computer science and engineering grad student at Santa Clara University in California. I decided to take on a full-time role while being in school, and I'm from California, from the Bay Area. I've actually been to, so one of my side hustles is art business, and the last anime convention I tabled at was at Sac Anime. So went to the Sacramento area a few times before as well, through my art business, and because of an anime convention. And I also like to create content for my social media and blog. Also, Jenny asks, I'm familiar with your user research with interacting with a lot of users and user testing. So how would you cut down that process into our hackathon? Great question. I can also talk a little bit about that towards the end once I go over the fundamentals. So the audience can get to know some principles as well, because I've actually done surveys and user research during hackathons. And so just briefly about my background. growing up in the Bay Area, I wanted to become an anime artist, but all the kids, parents, and teachers at my school were like, become a doctor, engineer, lawyer. So, with my background in writing as well as really interested in human body, I actually studied bioengineering and pre-med in undergrad, graduated from undergrad in 2019. And then I also had a social media blog about running on the side just for fun. And then I decided to kind of follow my childhood dream because I love playing games. I wanted to learn how to build my own games and design them. So that's why I studied CS after that and also minored in that in undergrad. Along the way, started my own art business. And after being in game dev, after doing some few internships in that, I realized I really like the game design and level design, and more specifically, UX and product design. So it's more broad. And so I decided to deep dive into UX and product design instead. And along the way, I founded Design Buddies in April 2020 during the pandemic. So now I'll be going more intro about design. So in the chat, what do you think design is to you? What does design mean? So give a few seconds for y'all to chime in. Style, yes, style does definitely have to do with it. Use style, like different colors and type styles to communicate something with people. That's graphic design. Also some UI design as well. So ease, definitely the goal of user experience design is to make the experience easier for users, so it's intuitive and easy to use, definitely interactive, creative as well. Definitely design is kind of a blend of art and science. Visualization of product, yes. Not Canva, yeah, I guess Canva is a great tool for people without a background in design, but once you know design, I highly recommend using Figma. Making something look nice, that is definitely part of it. How user interacts with the product, functionality, usability, these are all great answers. Definitely aesthetics as well has to do with it. Personification of thoughts, that also has a little bit to do with it as well. Aesthetic with function, definitely. Definitely function is a key thing because design is a problem-solving process where you create user experiences. So think of things, I guess, in the context of a hackathon. So think of things like creating a website, or creating an app to solve a problem, or it can be even like designing a chair for people who like standing desks or something. It can also be physical products for user experience, or it could be games. And it's an iterative process because you want to think of as many solutions as possible and pick the best one. So it has as many options. And design, I would consider a blend between art and science. It's science because you had to test it out, making sure it is okay in reality, and kind of think like a hypothesis, test out different options with the users. But it's art in a way where you had to be creative, thinking of solutions that don't already exist out there. So think of design as like an in-between between art and science with real-world applications where you can be creative for it. And so how many of you seen this design thinking diagram before? It's a pretty common diagram seen in school, but essentially design, you want to think of, so empathizing, so understanding the user and the problem for user experience design, understanding their pain points, and then defining what exact problem you want to solve. So this kind of frames the thesis statement of your project. And then you want to think of as many possible solutions as you can and pick a few and then prototype it and test it out. So we'll be doing something like this at the second half of this workshop as well, so make sure to stay tuned for that. And so what are just some examples of current problems you face or some kind of problem you want to tackle in this hackathon? This could be anything, because design is all about solving problems that exist in the real world with a mix of art and science to it. So I think the pandemic is a current problem, maybe staying social online, staying connected with your friends through Zoom University. I'm sure Zoom University probably is not the ideal learning environment, but how do we kind of stay connected or improve this communication that could possibly happen in Zoom University? So these are just like current examples of problems, but feel free to chime in the chat as well. So some examples is like something like in COVID healthcare system, like the hospital beds are really full. So a lot of like maybe making an app so doctors can find or nurses can find rooms faster for patients, staying connected while remote working or school, supporting small business. So these are some examples. Yeah, definitely. Remote working is the remote school is definitely rough, but I personally like it. But that's for another topic for another day. And another thing I want to cover in this intro section is the difference between UX and UI design because that often gets confusing. And so think of it as like a skeleton. So like a skeleton with this like a human body, like the skeleton and the skin. So the skeleton holds everything together and connects everything together and implements like a flow, like you're walking, you use multiple skeletons to walk. So UX is kind of like that backbone of the product, how pieces of the product, how web pages connect with each other, the order in which the users experience functions in the app. So basically the map of the whole thing and using a lot of information architecture. And these are all backed by user research. And UI design is the overall look and feel of the product, the things you can see and hear, maybe not taste, but to basically see it and stuff. So this kind of involves a lot of color, visual design, different typographies, and different layouts as well. And so now I'll talk about design thinking. This is the process that you all should definitely, this is like pretty industry standard process where a lot of companies and also design teams go through to start from a problem that people are facing and strategically think of a solution while evaluating like all the options they can and kind of expanding their idea space. And so this is something that you can actually do when you are thinking of what kind of project you want to solve in your hackathon today. And so I showed this before, and also over here, I have the map of our presentation for today, so you can keep track. But in reality, design thinking is like this. It is not linear. In fact, every time you go through another step, you have to evaluate and potentially go back if you see something that's missing. So for example, let's just say you've defined that you create a prototype for your problem, or you create a prototype for your product, and you tested it out, and then you decide that the users are not, and you kind of observe that like more than 50% of the users are not really understanding why your app exists or like how to navigate through your app, or you're not actually solving their problem, then you want to go back and evaluate. And it's always a process. It's never linear. You can never be really done. But doing it, so for context of a hackathon, typically I go through this like super quickly. I don't actually like really test out my product because I just have like 24 or 36 hours. In fact, I basically just send out a survey to people. I can also talk a bit more about this too if you have any more questions, but I typically just send out a survey, posted a bunch of like Facebook groups, posted in Design Buddies. We have a channel specifically for that as well, and get people to like answer it and then that will also strengthen my pitch when I kind of defend design decisions, which I can talk a little bit about that. And if you guys are interested towards the end, I can also show you guys how I pitched my project that carried my project with my team to, definitely post on Reddit as well. I can also show the project I did that I designed with my team to win first place at my school's hackathon last year as well. So I can go through that at the end if y'all are interested in that too. And so for this specific example I'll be going over for this presentation is my Discord case study. This is actually the first ever design case study I've ever done. It was done for a class, and I basically took a popular app, and y'all use Discord. Let me know in the chat if you prefer Discord or Slack. And basically we did some user research to find a pain point and design a solution for that. So I'll be giving some examples of that along the way, what I did. And so the first part, I have the map over here where I'm at for design thinking, is empathizing. You really want to understand the user needs and problems because you're solving an actual user need. And also, you also want to gather as many information as possible. So this is what you guys will probably do in Hackathon. I love it. I love so many Discord enthusiasts. I love Discord as well. Discord is like my favorite app, to be honest. And yeah, and so during the stage, you want to gather as much information as possible from user and also market research because you don't want to reinvent the wheel. And sometimes you also consult experts in your field. So for example, if you're solving the COVID problems, you want to consult some doctors to make sure that you're not misunderstanding the users. And also it's a human-centered process. So when you design, you always design for someone else. So you should always set aside your assumptions and back your design decisions with data. I'm going to stress data a lot because this is something that interviewers for designers and also product managers ask, like, grill you so much, like, how would you measure success? Like, what kind of data, what kind of metrics would you use? And in the company setting, as I'm working full time, this is what I'll use to prove to the stakeholders, the product managers, that my design should be implemented. And so I'm going to stress a lot on data as well, using data to like back every decisions. And then if you're an entrepreneur, you definitely want to back your pitch with investors with data as well. So I'm going to stress a lot about this during the presentation, but this is how you prove that your problem is a real problem, with actual factual evidence. Nice, I see a lot of discourse in the Slack. And so for the example slides, I have this tag on top over here. So basically, I looked at Discord, and the pain point I found was that sometimes it's hard to keep up with messages because there's no threads and everything feels so live. And if you're in like large servers, sometimes it might feel a bit chaotic. So I decided to explore that problem space further in my case study. And this is during the empathize phase when I try to understand. I always ask a lot of questions of stakeholders and users about like who, what, when, where, why, like who are the users. So I interviewed people who barely use Discord to people who use it like every minute of the day. And like how does Discord solve their need? How does Discord enable people to connect with each other? Also, I'm going to stress a lot about business as well, because user experience design, you always have to think about how would this product ultimately bring the business more revenue? Because without revenue, you cannot hire designers to improve the lives of users. So UX design is a lot of just tying in user goals and business goals and making a fine balance for that. And you can't also be too markety too, so that like dissatisfy the users. And also looking at what currently exists to solve the problems, doing some competitive analysis and making sure you're not reinventing the wheel. And how I was able to align my bookmark feature to Discord, even though to the business goal, like even though it just seems like, oh, just improving user experience, but it can be related to increasing user retention. So they are happy with the app, so they'll buy Nitro and refer their friends. And that was how I was able to like defend that decision with business goals in mind. And these are just some examples of questions I've asked during my user research interview. So you're welcome to take inspiration for that if you decide to create a questionnaire. I usually just create a Google form and spam it everywhere for hackathons. Yeah, I can go through some tricks on how to get responses later too if you guys are interested. I actually got over 150 responses for one that I posted somewhere for another hackathon I did. But this is when I would ask the question to understand pain points. Like, how do you feel when you go on Discord and you see you miss a few days of checking Discord and you see a lot of messages? Like why is that? And try to understand. And like what kind of information do you miss out? And like without looking at Discord, what important features can you recap? Kind of ranking them between most to least important, just seeing what users what users care about, so I can make sure that I'm designing something that they actually will use and care about. And during the empathize phase is when I would use to really gather data through user research. For hackathons, mostly just surveys, not really interviews, but you can also ask these in the Google form instead of setting up like one-on-one chats with people, because the short time span you'll have. Really trying to understand them and also reviewing existing products, and also in the company setting, not really for a hackathon, aligning with your team to define how you would measure success from the beginning, so you know exactly what to do to test the product out, and ultimately use this to convince stakeholders. And also, when you're collaborating with engineering during the beginning, making sure that you can finish your product on time. This is so important because oftentimes, in the hackathon, it's, at least for me, when I was starting out during hackathons, I would get so excited about like my idea, and then like we would not finish on time. Like I remember my second hackathon, actually, we wanted to build this machine learning tool that we will train it, which would take a few hours, and it will like remove toxicity from the internet, like the whole internet. And that was like my second hackathon. And that was like a while, like we're using like 5 different APIs and training with Python. And yeah, so definitely in the beginning, making sure that you are in sync with your team, making sure everyone in your team is present in that first meeting you have together, and all the technologies I use, and don't just keep stacking up different APIs, technologies, and establish these in the beginning to finish on time. So important for a hackathon. And Definitely, Dan. Learning to explain why design decisions are good for people that aren't designers, like business skills, is so important, definitely, because if you don't have meet the business skills, you won't make money, and you won't make money to hire designers to improve people's lives. And that's just one thing that I've noticed a lot of UX designers, especially new UX designers, kind of miss out on, or kind of don't have that much experience on. That was me in the past as well, so I can definitely relate to that. And kind of going back to my Discord example, I track different metrics like user satisfaction. So I would track both qualitative and quantitative metrics, like task completion rate. Are the users able to complete my flow? Users like this app? And sometimes like I would use these, like even though this like actually thing wasn't actually implemented, there's actually a practice project, but I basically went through the real world design process to practice that and got to use this on a portfolio and interview and actually get my current job. So that's why I'm showing this example. And the second part of design thinking is define. So really putting together all the evidence you've gathered from the users, from the market, from the business goals, the technical limitations, and narrow it down to one problem you want to solve. And this is basically the thesis statement of your project. And so basically the outcome, this would be the problem statement where you always keep referring to. And these are just some of the data points from user research that I found that it's hard to keep up with messages on Discord sometimes, which causes users to mute the entire app, which is bad. And so how many of you saw this double diamond before? It's a pretty popular diagram shown, but essentially it highlights the importance of divergent and convergent thinking. So right now so this is like hackathon start or project start. And then this is like you're exploring the problem space. You're doing all these research for that. And after that, you want to gather all the data to narrow down to one problem statement. So you're here. And later that, you want to think of as many solutions as possible and choose the best one to prototype and later deliver. And so now that we are at ideate, so this is when you want to think outside the box and maybe work with your team as well to kind of expand your problem space and think of as many possible solutions as you can. Like, how might we make it easier for people to keep track of message on Discord? Are we going to design a bot? Are we going to manually assign people to, or like make it able people like pinning messages? Enable to everyone, not just admins. So all these different solutions. And if you ever seen stock photos of designers with a bunch of sticky notes, this is what they're doing. They're ideating solutions to their problems. So that's how I like to associate that with that. Just a fun fact. And then later, you will definitely vote and pick a few, and sometimes you do affinity mapping. We'll be also going over this during our interactive portion in Figma as well. Then you choose a few to prototype as well. So you want to expand so you can evaluate as many options as you can. And so now we're here. And so basically, after you've narrowed down to a few options you want to actually test out and implement, you want to prototype it, not the real thing, because you want to simulate the potential end product first and see hand in front of users to see if they vibe with it or see if it actually solves their problems. I'm very Gen Z, so I use the terms vibe a lot. Hope you all don't mind. And this is basically investigating your solution. So this is when you want to put on your scientist hat and do some usability testing and seeing how handing your product in front of users, running them through a series of different tasks and see how they behave and see how this product makes them feel and see if they feel like this product solves their problem as well. Reviving, yes, thank you. I use Yeet and Vibe a lot, so and Lit and Groovy sometimes as well. And so hope you all like my random verbiage there. But yeah, when you're prototyping, you also want to start with like low fidelity design because you don't want to like rush to pixels because you really want to get as many feedback along the way as possible to make sure that you're solving the right problem. And so this is when you want to highlight the layout and hierarchy of content. This is where you want to do like pen and paper and pencil and help and just like get your thoughts on like the motion of using your paper and pencil helps you like get your thoughts down and helps you kind of think of potential use cases and edge cases that come out. I love the chat. I see a lot of yeets, yoink, and yeet. Thank you. Appreciate it. I use yeet and lit a lot as well. And yeah, so now we're at low fidelity, and I actually did this on Notability on my iPad, so it's not actually pen and paper, but writing down with hands helps you think more. It's just something to do with the brain that is proven through studies, so I always recommend this. Just like annotate things and write flows and thinking of like, oh, what if the user does this? What will happen if here? So it's a brainstorming, brain dump phase. And now we're heading into some of the UI design. So this is when you want to head into like a prototyping app like Figma or XD and basically wireframe out your design and build some prototypes and test it out with people. And Figma is not the only tool. XD is a great one as well. Sketch, Envision, and Protopie. They all have their own strengths and weaknesses. There's no right or wrong one, but these are just like all the options available to you. And there's like XD workshop tomorrow, I believe, as well. And yeah, after you make your prototype, you want to test out with your user, test it out your solution with the users. And the goal of this is just basically hand in front of the users, see how they behave, collect data, and this will drive iterations and help you understand the users even more. And so usability testing is a very common practice. Typically, we don't do this during hackathons because of the short time span, but if you ever want to work in engineering or ever work on user, especially user researchers do this a lot, UX design, user research, you will be involved in usability testing. And basically, you are measuring how easy the product it is to use. And so you want to hand it with real users and write a series of tasks and see if the users are able to complete them. And also interviewing them afterwards and seeing how they feel about it and asking them if they felt like your product solved their problem and just like really just gather as much data as you can to keep driving iterations, to keep improving your product. And this is when you want to collect data as well. And another big thing that you should always consider throughout your whole project is accessibility, which is how easy can people use your product. So this is really, really important in order to make your product more and more inclusive. So people from different demographics that might come from like different cultural backgrounds might have to understand what your app is. And like people who may have disabilities in vision, hearing, and movement are able to experience your product at the same capacity as people without these disabilities can have. It's really, really important, not only to be inclusive and just like be ethical overall, but also in the business side. So that was the user side. So on the business side, increasing your target audience reach, because there's a large population of people with disabilities, and you've also unlocked a different demographic. You could make more, ultimately have more target audience, more customers for your product as well. So this is super, super important to consider. And if you want to read more about accessibility and how to make your apps accessibility, there's a web called the Accessibility Guidelines, which you can look up. And depending on what your product is, usually AA is good enough already, but AAA for apps like the government website, but AA for maybe apps like a game or just like it really depends on what product, but just aim for at least AA, AAA for like government websites and stuff. And yeah, definitely colorblind, making sure you have enough visual contrast. So making sure that your text is dark enough in front of your background so people with color blindness can see. And also making sure you add alt text. This is for the developer side. So it's important for not only designers, but also developers and product managers to ensure best practices, and adding alt text so people with screen readers may also use the app. And maybe adding like navigation, like so people who may not be able to use the mouse, so adding tab navigations, and also having helpful error states, using familiar patterns, like green means success, red means warning, and not making like red means success. That will like confuse the users. So and clear focus states and more, because by designing for people with this, like maybe like impairments and disabilities, you make the product much easier for people as well, make much easier for people without these disabilities. So this is why I keep stressing on accessibility. It's super, super important, not just to be inclusive and to make and also increase target audience reach, and also increasing people's experience of the product overall as well. Yes, thanks for the link. Yeah, definitely color contrast tracker. This is so, so important for your app. Make sure this Figma also has plugins. I've just searched the plugin store. It's all free. The plugin database, you're able to see that. And XD also has some if you're using that. Sketch also has some if you're using that as well. And so that's another resource you can do without having to check every hex code with each other. I can also showcase what plugins I use for accessibility as well. And so now we'll dive into UX design. And so UX, user experience design, basically what I do on a daily basis is thinking of products so I can like balance user needs and business goals while taking account the technical limitations and business constraints. And so your goal is to make a product useful, which is probably like MVP hackathon level, and then usable so more people can use it, and then beautiful at the end. And so this is really similar to the design thinking process I've done. Basically, a lot of my day is spent making wireframes and high fidelity mockups and prototyping things. And UX is not just for design. If you're ever interested in different career fields, there's also UX researchers. If you want to be in user experience, but not necessarily want to do design, if you're really curious about user behavior and cognitive science and research, this is a good field to go into. It's pretty popular right now as well. And UX designers, what I do is defining user flows, wireframes, and doing designs. I also do some UI design as well. And it really varies depending on the companies. Like when I was an intern at EA, I was a UX design intern. I was involved with like the end-to-end process and got to be involved in user testing. And also I did some graphic design as well. And so, yeah, it really depends on the company, but most of the time it means like thinking of user flows and being a little bit involved in research as well and wireframing a lot and testing it with people. And if you're more on the engineering side, there's UI engineer or UX engineer, where you kind of bridge the gap between design and engineering. Basically, building functional specs, proof of concepts, design systems, and things like front end, bridging the gap between design and engineering. And if you're interested in both design and engineering, this is also a really up-and-coming career path. A lot of startups actually hire UX engineers. For bigger companies, typically designers and engineers are more like defined, but for smaller companies and also for some big companies, there's also UX engineering. Or if you're interested in more marketing, more writing, there's also UX writing / content strategy, where you kind of plan what kind of copy goes on the website, what are buttons named, what kind of text users see. So this is an interesting field as well if you're into marketing, copywriting. And so how to get started in UX design? And Dorothy, I see a question. I'll show you the plugins at the end as well. So how to get started? How I actually got started without applying, without actually like, I don't have any design degree. In fact, I studied bioengineering and computer engineering in school. I didn't go to any boot camp, but this is what I did. I learned the fundamentals by taking a free 10-week online course. Unfortunately, it is not available anymore, so I can't share it. But I have some resources that are similar to the course I took, which I'll be sharing towards the end of this presentation. So learning fundamentals of design thinking, what you guys are doing right now, and then practicing. And so practicing by going to hackathons like this and designathons. We have a bunch of design buddies as well, where you can practice. And I also like to join startups and also volunteered for different organizations to get some pieces on my portfolio. And so I actually did 10 hackathons in 2020. Hackathons meaning the code ones and the design ones. And that helps me really get a lot of experience without actually landing an internship or a job yet. And then I have improved on design tools after that. Don't make it your priority to really focus on your technical Figma or XD skills, because just from my experience in like talking to hiring managers and interviewing, they care more about how you think through problems, and how you get better at thinking through problems is practicing. And through practice, you improve at design tools as well. So it's important to be good at Figma, but the concept of taking a problem to a solution and balancing business goals, user needs, and taking account business constraints and tech limitations is much more important. And this is really done through practicing. So definitely keep practicing and getting feedback, especially for like getting feedback like through a mentor. I know Amazing Design People List, adplist.org, has a lot of mentors who are willing to volunteer their time for free. We're actually partnered with them with Design Buddies, so welcome to check that out as well, for mentors to give you feedback along the way to make sure that you're learning the right thing. And also feedback on your projects, so important, so you know because you don't know what you don't know. So it's so important to get like a mentor getting feedback. And this is basically how I learned design without a design degree, spending $0 on my design education. Now working full-time as a designer at EA, so pretty cool. And so Hannah asks, hey everyone, totally new to UI UX. This is getting me hyped. I'm happy to hear that. What is the best way to branch from graphic design to UI UX? Yeah, so graphic design is all about kind of communicating things with visuals, and UI UX, I think Kickass UX also has another great resource that also specializes in giving resources for that. But my background's not in graphic design, but I worked on like casual graphic design projects. I would say try to understand the users and more psychology and like the overall flow of the product, like end to end. Some product thinking as well, like how does this product solve an actual user problem end to end, not just how does this product look, and just like that mindset. And I also love going on product hunt to see what latest and greatest products are out there and testing them out and just like seeing why they're so popular and listening to business podcasts. That's what I personally like to do, how to like learn more about UI UX design. um, and yeah, and so Gabriel asked to clarify, you said you got a lot of internships before any of your internships by joining startups and doing hackathons. Yeah, I actually did 10 hackathons like this. And I did freelance work for a YC startup that I've gotten through just posting my work on LinkedIn. So posting it on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook is another great way to get clients. Another tip for that. And also I joined my friend's startup that started while I was in school. So one of my good college friends to get experience working with product managers and engineers. And I think hackathons are super amazing because you learn so much in such a short time, and you also collaborate with. So not only you learn, you get better at design thinking and practicing, you also get experience collaborating with people. And that's also the thing you always do at work. And also, especially during the behavior interview, like you're guaranteed to get asked, like, how would you resolve problems on a team? Or how do you collaborate with people? Or behavioral questions for that. So hackathons, you really just kill two birds with one stone. So highly, highly recommend keep doing them. And they're super, super fun. And so specifically, what does UX designers do? And by the way, you have until 10:10 here as well. I also maybe might speed through the rest of my slides so we have time for the interactive portion. And so we focus on strategy and content, working with content strategists and UX researchers to also really understand, because design, you really have to understand the research and what problem you're trying to solve so you can design it. And also we do a lot of wireframing and prototyping. This is probably the majority of things I do on a day-to-day basis. I probably spent like at least like 60 or 70% of my time on Figma on a day-to-day basis, and also collaborating with engineers, PMs to align to deadlines and test it out and release the product too. And so I have this whole slide because I keep stressing on balancing business goals and user needs. They're both equally as important, but I see new designers, the biggest is not mistake, but the biggest thing I see is that they focus too much on the users, and that's something I've also done in the past too. So it's a balance. Definitely consider that as well. How would you measure success, and how does this product earn the company more revenue or save the company more money? So now deep dive into UI design. And so after you have most of your skeleton laid out, it's time to lay down the skin. I know, like, probably not the best analogy, but after you have your foundations laid out, like you're building a house, you want to like add the paint to it, making it attractive, and also like using visuals like colors and type to guide the users to do something. And so basically visually guiding people, creating an intuitive experience, and also making it very nice to use. And so UI design includes a lot of these, like colors, type, visual design, graphic design as well, and buttons, branding as well, and working very closely with the UX. And I also do a lot of UI design at work too. And it's so important to consider, not just like, it's so important to like make things pop, not pop, but like just stereotypical term, but it's important to make things look nice because you acquire more users. So think of things like Robinhood. They took the app Robinhood, they made it so it's easy for people who don't know about investing to actually buy stocks and invest because they have really good UI and user experience. And that's how they were able to leverage design to make such a complicated concept of investing to people who might not know about it. And also helping you align closely with brand for marketing, and also instilling trust with your users and everything as well. And you definitely start UI after you have all your foundations laid down. And then UI designers basically help determine the look and feel of the product. And also taking account color theory, color psychology, and also sometimes they might make some animations with the different animations as well with the product. And so now we are going to ideate and design a simple app together. We have 10 minutes left. I'll be answering questions along the way as well. So what I will be dropping in the chat is this Figma file. In this Figma file, let me know in the chat how comfortable you are at Figma. Are you completely new to Figma? Is this your first time seeing Figma? If you don't have an account, you can, yes, Evan, yes. Recently, the GameStop stocks, yeah, the hedge funds, yeah, they definitely. This is before the Insta Trust portion, but just like think about how Robinhood was able to actually have like Wall Street bets on Reddit, people who don't know anything about investing, just like basically make GameStop stocks go up to like $100. So yeah, but yeah, just like because of design, they were able to like instill people to do that because of design. So yeah. So I'm gonna drop this link in the chat. If you don't have a Figma account, make sure it's browser based. You can also create one really, really quickly. Should have mentioned that in the beginning. The app is super nice. I love their graphics. So feel free to come in right now and let me know in the chat if you're new to Figma. I can also do a really, really quick tour. So Figma, if you ever get lost, you can click on me, my avatar. You'll get, you will, yeah, GM to the moon. You will get to where my cursor is. And for Figma, it's a file and you have two sections of pages. And for the first page, the slide, so y'all have access to this. You can reference this anytime. And we'll be spending most of our time in the workshop portion, which is the second page. And you also have assets, layers, and then on the top left, you'll see your creation tools. You can create shapes, you can create pen tools, you can create text elements as well. And then over here and the left is the contents of your page. And then on the right here, you'll see 3 different panels: design, prototype, and inspect. And for design, you'll actually be spending most time in your design tab. So if you just click on one element on your screen, you can see all the different visual properties you can change for that as well. And then prototype it, meaning you link screens together like what I did with my slides. I prototype them together. And then for inspect, this is actually where developers can come in. And for the inspect, you can see all the CSS properties to develop it. You can also change it to iOS or Android code to help you make your workflow more smooth with that. And there's a whole, I think there's a whole article about how to use Figma for developers too. Cool. And so because we have about 18 minutes left, thank you all for all your questions throughout this presentation, by the way. We'll be going over a really quick design sprint. And so this is based on my experiences at different places I've worked at or interned at and / worked at, and also based on different workshops I've attended and also different best practices online. So we're going to go through a short problem statement. So meanwhile in the chat, feel free to also, like, if you're able, you should all be able to edit this, by the way. Figma, it's kind of strange because every time I want to share a file, it makes it so it's only view only. So I have to like toggle everyone. But at the same time, I'm just going to talk through my design challenge. Let me know if you're all able to edit it in the chat as well. So 2 asked how easy to create a logo in Figma. Pretty easy. There's also a pen tool. I actually done that in Figma. You can there's also a vector tool. You can create things as well. So there's that as well. So very, very simple tools. You can look that up. There's also tutorials for that as well. But kind of back on topic, after thinking of problem statements, you want to think of how might we solve these and doing some affinity mapping, grouping similar ones together, voting on our top 3 and prototyping it out. This is really, really quick. I actually imported a component pack, so it'll be really easy for y'all. So right now, please you can click on my avatar over here so you can navigate to the problem statement, and you can zoom in Figma and just type different problem ideas you have, and we'll vote on some. And so meanwhile, as you kind of write down problems, I'm gonna make you all able to edit it. Even though I shared it as can edit, I'm still gonna go in and make sure that everybody can actually edit it. But actually, for the sake of time, we're gonna start with the problem statement that I've thought of before. Is how might we able to stay connected online, or how might we able to or probably jump into chat. We're gonna skip that part where we gather all our how might we's here due to the sake of time. But if you are really, really wanting to work on a problem, feel free to let me know in the chat. Otherwise, I'll put mine in. Or how might we make friends on the internet? Yeah, so sometimes like in COVID times, like people say it's really hard to meet people on the internet. Like how might we it's hard to make or maybe actually make friends online. Let me think. How might we push your friends to be productive? Because sometimes like especially on like Zoom University, it's easy to feel like kind of tired, kind of like bleh all the time. And so like how might we like so the problem is like it's hard to stay focused in Zoom University. Um, because I'm in grad school, a part-time grad student, and it's so easy to like go on like the internet or on Discord or on class. So it's hard to stay focused on Zoom University. So now we're gonna think of how might we's, and as I go through this part, I'm gonna make it so everybody can edit on the file. So if you need to Figma, you can also control click on any layer, command click or control click if you're in the Mac, and then go to executive text element, and you can like type anything you want. I have auto layout set, so it automatically resizes like this. And so like how might we stay focused on Zoom University? So yeah, if you really think of like any solutions you can for this as well. We have 15 minutes left. It is hard to stay motivated in Zoom University. So how might we like gamify learning? So let's just say you design an app to track your eye movements on your webcam, and every time you like your eyeballs move to a different screen, or the app detects your zoom is not like your main screen, you lose points, or you kill plants, or knock them out first. So just like think of things like this, and they really think outside the box. And we're gonna give it probably 2 or 3 minutes for everyone to be able to edit it. As you kind of think through solutions of different ways you can get people to stay motivated, I will make sure everybody can edit the file as well, because due to Figma's, I think it's like a little bug, but I'm trying to make it so everyone can edit. Cool, so y'all should be able to edit now. Oh yeah, sometimes this happens as well. So what happened here? I think that actually got deleted, but because this is kind of set up with auto layout, I'm gonna like take all the cards out, so maybe it might be easier. So there's actually less layers to click into. So feel free to just, I'm gonna make a lot of duplicates. So feel free to actually type here. That might be a bit harder. Or like you can like click on one and we can choose. How about we gamify learning? Which link you're on? Oh, let me share the link in the chat again. So we're in here. Checkpoint system, like that. We'll give it probably to 50, 59, and then I can show really quick prototyping. And if you have any questions, I will also answer them live at the same time. Gamify learning, yes. Checkpoint system, focus on Zoom content, definitely. Like that. Just say that apps connects to your webcam and it would track your eyeball movement. Or I guess it's kind of like privacy issues as well. But I know some professors, they have like webcam tools. Don't tell your professors. I don't know. They have tools where you can have to download where it will track your eye movement on exams. Use black, white. Oh, use black or whiteboard instead of slides. Interesting. Ability to skip a homework assignment by interacting more. Oh wow, I love that. I would love that so much. Yeah, no, eye tracking. Yeah, eye tracking is pretty sus. I feel like it's like hacker paradise, connecting the webcam and stuff. Take screen time measurements further. It's okay if you mess with the auto layout. We're just getting ideas down. Get rewarded with points to use for food places in town. Yeah, it's like that app called Pocket Points, where you lock your phone and get points. I've been using that app for like 4 years now. Very high level on that. Weird flex, but okay. If you aren't focused on Zoom, your screen will get spammed with boom stickers that block your screen. That is awesome. Screen time measurements further. And for the sake of time, we might just skip over affinity mapping or just like vote on the ones you want most popular. So what I'm gonna do right now is gonna pull these out so we can rearrange them. Let me just delete these extra ones. And so they're at 59 right now, get rewarded for points. It's okay if the auto layout is a little bit off, but there's like a lot of people interacting at the same time. Pocket points flex. Yeah, I always use it when I sleep. Oh yeah, we are actually thinking. Oh, so you Steph asked, what are we supposed to do? Yeah, so we are actually currently we're doing a little design sprint, and the problem that we're trying to think of solutions is how might we? It's like it's hard to stay focused on Zoom University. So how might we design an app to make it easier for people to focus on Zoom? So let me just pull these out. There's like a lot of people on here, so I think next time I will make it easier so people can like click through, skip questions by interacting with questions. So for the sake of time, I'm going to pull these out, get rewarded. Yeah, but what I love about Figma is like you can see everybody at the same time. Like you see everyone's nice cursors on the screen. You can zoom in. If you ever get lost, click on my avatar. You'll spawn where my cursor is. Just make sure everyone can edit it. Okay, you got, new people are here, and make it so y'all able to edit everything. Cool. And so checkpoint system, I'm just gonna pull these all out. So we have them here. Black and white whiteboard instead of slides. Remove distractions, definitely very important. So affinity mapping is basically looking at all the how might we have and seeing similar patterns between these two and grouping them together in categories. So let me just take a look using black and white whiteboard, checkpoint system, gamified learning, removing distractions, getting rewarded. So I see rewards, checkpoint system, points, rewards. So this is like positive reinforcement / rewards. Your teacher makes TikToks to teach. That is amazing. Definitely trying to flex these. I'm trying to like create design by TikTok as well. I'm trying to learn these like dances as well to get with the times. Because I'm Gen Z, but I'm already at the end of Gen Z, so I can kind of relate to TikTok as well. So for our affinity mapping, basically grouping things together that follow a similar property. And so positive reinforcement rewards, like getting rewarded, checkpoint system, focus on Zoom content, so points as well for gamification and getting rewards. That's definitely gamification. I always think of gamification just because I work at a games company. TikTok teachers use TikTok to ask to class, screen time measurements further, ability to skip homework assignments, interact. Instead of slide, focus on Zoom. Yeah, I guess that's negative reinforcement. I guess that kind of goes with that. Actually, not really. Earn points or free boba. Yes, I love that. Comment your favorite boba flavors in the chat. I like mango matcha or taro matcha. Haven't had boba since March though, unfortunately, March 2020. But I used to really like boba a lot, and then Rona happened. So just do like engaging class. So typically you do this for all of this, but for the sake of time, we will skip over a few. So engaging class TikToks, removing discussion, so you have more engaged. Using black and white board instead of slides, that might be more engaging as well. Also interactive, making people like have to interact. Maybe not really, but making it so people have to interact. So making class more engaging. So or class engagement. Rose teas are great, definitely. Oh, editability, let me make sure. Blueberry tea. Oh, yeah, Yakult is great. Y'all should be able to edit everything. Let me know if you write Figma as well. But this is affinity mapping. So it's okay. Sometimes things are in its own group, but what we'll be doing for the next minute is we're gonna vote. So I'm gonna ungroup these so you only have to like click once to do it. Oops, not this. Yeah, so what we're gonna do right now, so now that you have all your solutions down, you can vote for your top 3 choices to prototype. Matcha anything? Nice. I love matcha as well. Taro is also great. Yakult is also great. Oh, so 2 asks, I'm self-studying UI UX. Do you ever feel overwhelmed with information? I'm starting to feel a bit lost. Yes, that is completely me. But then I just realized everyone's on their own journey. I struggle with like comparing myself to people, but I just realized I just need to take it slow or take it at my own pace and keep going. And it just kind of comes down to learning fundamentals and just practicing, getting feedback. And you're doing the right thing by doing hackathons and collaborating and working on projects as well. But yes, it is completely normal and okay to feel overwhelmed. There's so much information, so much to learn. But and even me as a full-time designer, I also like, even if like VPs, director level designers, they keep learning. There's always like new technology, learning and being self-aware of what you know and what you don't know, and being curious. It's such an important skill that it's a soft skill for designers. Like being curious, curiosity, asking questions is one thing you should always have. I know it can be super overwhelming at first, but that feeling of overwhelmness is only temporary. Once you have an idea of what you want to do, once you kind of get the rhythm down, it just gets easier from there. So that helped me kind of keep motivated from there. So Allison asked, what do we connect the Canvas notifications to AI? Yeah, I guess that will work as well. I also use Canvas. Cool. So now we can have enough time. Feel free to drop any questions in the chat. I'll be answering them at the same time. So it feels like a little bit of a Twitch live stream here. So I see checkpoint system assigned to skip. Checkpoint system focus on Zoom content. So, oh, thank you, Sandy. I appreciate it. So we're gonna go with the checkpoint system because that's the most popular vote. So I'm just gonna like duplicate this by holding Alt and dragging it. And then I'm gonna show you how to use wireframes. And I also really want to share some resources of where I got these tools. So prototyping, wireframing low fidelity. Oh, so Tao asks, can you share Figma plugins? Yes, feel free to take a screenshot of this. These are my Figma plugins. I'll leave it on for a few seconds so people can take a screenshot of this as well. An A1Y color contrast tracker is my accessibility plugin. You can basically click on a frame and be able to check accessibility. So basically going on here and checking it. So it's amazing. It fits the AAA standard, so it's amazing. So yeah, another cool tool that I mentioned as well. If anybody needs it, feel free to ping me on Discord, and I can also send another screenshot of that in case you missed it. And so prototyping, let me just show you this really quick pack really quick as well. So in Figma, so typically we would have, I also really want to take some time to answer questions. So that's why we're running a bit over time here. But if you press F for frame, not F to pay respects, you can have access to all the different dimensions you have. So you don't have to like look them up. And so you can also choose, typically you design smaller. And then basically these are some examples of what you make. And then if you're into Figma, you have a component library. So I set this up so y'all have access to all of these. So there's like buttons you can drag out, and there's variants. You can have different solid, medium, large. And so this is a very, oh yeah, share my plugin, sure. So this is my plugin. Make sure to take a screenshot of that. And so I also want some time to also go over some resources as well. Basically thinking of different flows. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to get to here, but F in the chat. Yeah, F for frame as well. F is a keyboard shortcut to access all your frames. And so after you create a frame, you can also use this nice wireframing pack that I got from the Figma community. And you can also have different button groups, different text layers. You can add links to it as well. And so I'm going to make a really quick screen so y'all can see what this is. So checkpoint system. So let's just say you also want to click T for text, earn points. And you can also like report, like lock your phone and earn points or something. And so unfortunately, I'm going to use Poppin because that's my favorite font. And I'm going to remove that underline here. Earn points. So this is a screen to earn points. And then there's like probably like a progress bar here, lock your phone. If you have locked your phone, or maybe a progress bar here, which frames is best to use, but Osani asks which frames are best to use. It doesn't matter much. It depends on your product. Typically, we design for smaller first, just to make sure our designs can fit the smallest device. And also, there's also different sizes for desktop, tablet, and desktop apps as well. And so we have a minute left. Okay, so we can just basically make shapes and text to make it look like this in Figma. You guys can experiment on it as well. But I also really want to showcase some resources where y'all can learn more. And so these are some resources, and I got these all from Design Buddies, but I found these pretty useful. And so Degree List of Thought Design is literally someone wrote their whole design degree on a website. And resources database, there's a bunch of like design podcasts, design books you can use, YouTubers as well, and also UX Collective is a really popular Medium blog where you can learn design. They have like a start guide. And for learning Figma, definitely Figma's website and tutorials, YouTube channel are the best. And really quick Easter egg I really want to show is the Figma community. So let me go through the tab. So if you're in Figma's homepage, you can go here and Hackathon, you have access to design systems, UI kit, so you don't have to make everything from scratch. You can quickly use these open source designs, make sure you credit them in your submissions. So you have access to like icons, illustrations to make your apps look nice. This is going to be super useful, especially if you're doing the no code track and wireframe your design. So Figma is like the GitHub for design. And lastly, I really want to share Design Buddy's favorite resources. We have this huge channel called FAQ New to Design, where we have like some things like new to design, different courses, resources, and even more. This is all sourced by our community members of people background from like students to like VP level designers have recommended all these tools. So I'm going to drop a link to Design Buddies so I can check these out. When you join Design Buddies, make sure you go to the rules channel, click on the bunny so you have access to everything too. And you have access to this channel as well. And that concludes my talk. Feel free to connect with me on any of my social media platforms. I'll stay on for a few moments and just answer any questions as long as there's no like workshop happening right after that. But feel free to connect with me on any of my platforms and ask me anything. And yeah, and if we have, I don't know if we have a few minutes left. It's 10:11, but you're welcome. And let me just showcase how to do this really quickly. How I would like make a very quick app so you all know. Yeah, you're welcome. And feel free to keep dropping your question in the chat and I'll answer them live as well as I'm thinking of this whole design from scratch. So let's just say you're kind of going back to the problem. You want a checkpoint system so you can earn points. So let's just say lock your phone and like lock your phone, a big call to action button here. Lock phone. It's really similar to Pocket Points, but just keep you focused on Zoom University. And let's just say this app theoretically syncs to your desktop monitor so you're on Zoom. Yeah, you're welcome, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Lock phone, and after you locked your phone, I'm just showing you how to do this really quick. But if you have the Lo-Fi wireframe kit is actually on Figma community, you can import it to your project. So you're able to access all of these little components you can use to wireframe as well. And you're welcome. I'm really glad. I hope y'all pursue UI UX design. It's a very popular field right now. There's a lot of potential. It's a relatively new field, but it's growing very quickly. So yeah, thank you all for coming. And I will stay on for probably 2 or 3 more minutes in case anyone has any questions or wants to watch me wireframe this very quick app using the Figma resources, which you can use open source. Make sure to credit them as well if you're submitting them in your hackathon. So you can lock phone, and after you've locked your phone for a certain amount of time, you say like, congrats, you have earned 100 points by paying attention in class. You have earned 100 points by paying attention in class. And then there's like, we could probably have like a table of what you can buy. Oh, this is probably for a desktop view, but this will have, here's what you can buy. Buy now, and then you could have like little buttons. This is just like really quick how I basically want to really quickly wireframe an app, like brainstorm an app idea as well. Can make it just probably a little bit lighter. Here's what you can buy. These are like buttons because they're kind of spaced out a bit. You can buy boba. And then you can maybe add a drop shadow. So it's like a button. Figma has drop shadow. You can add that little drop shadow over here. Increase the blur a little bit. Decrease opacity. And yeah, so Julie asked my question, how much easier does iPad Pro make UI UX? I actually don't use my iPad Pro at all for UI UX design. We mostly use tools like Figma, which is actually available. There's another like third-party tool available on the iPad Pro, but I don't even use it at all at work. So I don't think it is, but it's really good for illustrating. Another thing I do is I draw a lot, so it's really good for that, but not for specifically UI UX design. Oh, I spelled buy wrong. But here's what you can buy: boba, coffee, Amazon gift card. So this is basically just like thinking through an app and thinking of like different flows. Like let's just say this is the MVP version of the app. You want the users to be able to like lock your phone to earn points, and after some time later, you want them to get positively reinforced that they lock their phone in class. And then, as always, you want to consider hierarchy. So this could be 24 font with bold so it stands out. So this is like the main thing people want to focus on. And here's what you can buy: boba, coffee, gift cards, Starbucks, not sponsored, donuts. Just really, really random. So yeah, I will. Yeah, it's 10:15 here. We are running a bit over time, but you're welcome to join Design Buddies for more resources or connect with me and reach out to me on any of my social media platforms. I'm on literally everything. So you can find me everywhere, even on Clubhouse. I'm on that as well. So thank you all for coming. And as always, I always say this after every Design Buddies meetup, but stay positive and test negative and happy hackathon. Also, I will be doing a design systems workshop where I will take you through how to more like Figma stuff and how to build components and collaborate with developers and how designers and developers can collaborate at 10 a.m. tomorrow. And also another workshop about design careers and how I got into EA without applying, 100% networking. So I'll show you some insider tips on how to do that as well on Sunday. So make sure you attend and also attend Design Buddies Social tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific time on Discord. We have a fun Figma activity for y'all to get more brushed up and more better at these Figma skills as well. So thank you all for coming. This concludes the end of my presentation. Feel free to stay connected, and I'll see you all soon at my other two workshops. So thank you all and have a good night and happy hacking.